This video was brought to you by Squarespace. If you were to ask me, Arlo, what is the best, easiest way to build a website, and is that table for sale? You know what I'd tell you? I would say, I'm not like trying to sell it. It's my table. I use it every day, but like, I guess if you offered enough, I'd have to consider it. And also Squarespace! Squarespace's intuitive builder makes website building an effortless joy. You don't have to have experience. You don't even need to write a single line of code. You can even start with a template if you want to save some time. And in the end, you will have an awesome site. Something for your business, something for personal use, whatever you need. Squarespace also offers lots of powerful extensions if you ever need a little extra juice. My site, Arlo Recommends, is just a simple blog, so my job is easy. I just paste in my text, throw on some pictures and videos, format everything in like a minute, schedule everything to automatically publish, and even generate social media posts, and I am done. Then I can sit back and watch them sweet analytics roll in. To try out Squarespace for yourself, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. Then when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/Arlo to save 10% off your first website or domain. And now for today's recommendation, The Empty Mirror. It's a book about a Westerner spending several months in a Japanese Zen monastery in the 50s and dealing with the culture shock and the demands of a very intense meditation regimen. It's a really interesting little time capsule, surprisingly fun and lighthearted a lot of the time. Thanks again to Squarespace. Now, if you're not serious about buying this table, I will be over here starting the video. I know about you. Hello, my dear friends. I have been playing this Switch 2 system. This very one. This is the actual Switch 2. This is not a prop. I have been playing this for a couple weeks now, and I just wanted to give you my overall thoughts and impressions of just like the system itself. I guess you could call it a review. I don't know why. Something about it. Calling it a review for like the whole entire system itself. Why is that weird? It's not weird. I'm gonna call it a review. It's a review of the Nintendo Switch 2. Just like the build quality, how it feels to use, and then the features and all that stuff. This will not be a deep dive from a technological standpoint. Not an analysis deep dive. I've not done like side-by-sides. I'm not doing like rigorous testing or anything. This is just the thoughts of a guy who has played this thing right here. So yeah, let's get started. The Nintendo Switch 2 system itself is not particularly remarkable. It's just like the original Switch, just kind of a little tablet. But it does have a more sleek feel this time, nice rounded edges. We were worried about the Joy-Con connectors, but it really does not seem to be an issue. There's not much reason to move the thing around anyway. Tabletop, just kind of sits there. And they are pretty well protected inside the little groove. It doesn't feel as delicate as I think I was worried it might. Obviously, having an extra USB-C port on top of the system is really, really handy. I'm still somehow surprised Nintendo did that. I don't know, just having two. It's strange, but I'm very thankful. The kickstand is very lightweight compared to the Switch OLED. It could be something you might have to be a little bit careful with if you use it a lot. I don't know, maybe not, but the hinge is really nice and tight. I like that. Everything else, all the buttons and stuff, it's all, fine. Really the star of the show here, if you just want to talk about the Switch 2 hardware, it's how the Joy-Cons attach. It's just, like, that is everything to me. It's such a simple thing. It does not change how games are played or anything like that. And you only do it every once in a while, but I don't know. Somehow it's a really big deal to me. The feeling of attaching and detaching Joy-Cons. It's like my favorite thing about Switch 2. I just can't stress enough how good it feels to chunk these little things on and off. The way they just suck and smack right into it, and then you hit the button and they just boink, they just come, it's perfect. And the Switch 1 Joy-Cons, they did feel really good too, just kind of sliding them on and that click. It was very satisfying, but yeah, even from the beginning, you could kind of tell that it was at least a little bit delicate. They never really felt that secure. And of course, eventually you could have problems with them popping off, especially on the OLED for some reason. But this right here, this is the idea of detachable controllers, pretty much perfected. I cannot imagine it being much better than this. I will say, slightly embarrassing how much time it takes me to put them in sometimes. Like you gotta line it up kind of perfectly before it'll snap in. Maybe I just need some more practice. But no, really, it feels so good. It's so much fun. The sound, it's amazing. And it really does not feel like it's gonna wear out. It feels so solid. It makes the system that much more comfortable to hold. I mean, I guess that really is something that does affect the moment-to-moment experience. They don't creak in your hands anymore, you know? And you play in handheld, you often want to hold the thing with one hand. And yeah, on the Switch 1, it would kind of creak. It would feel like if I did it too much, it might break off. But this is super duper solid. I will admit, right out of the box, you can see in my unboxing video, it was like 99% rock solid. One of the Joy-Cons just did not move even a micron, and then the other one moved like a micron, give or take. After playing for a bit, it's kind of gone from like 99% solid to 96.5%. There's very, very, very slightly more give now, but it's still, like, it's not gone anything past that. I think that's probably just it kind of breaking in. I can't know for sure, but I really just can't imagine it wearing down more than that, just because, like, I don't know, like, what's gonna wear out? You know, the magnets, that's not how that works. So I'm reasonably confident that it's gonna stay feeling this solid pretty much forever, and I'm very, very happy with it. And this all makes the Switch 2 feel so much more like a premium piece of tech, you know, less like a toy. Nintendo, you know, they're a toy company at heart. They love their toys. In the past, they wanted their consoles to kind of seem like toys, but over time, they've made them sleeker. They've seen the need to not exactly compete with the rest of the electronics market, but at least keep up. You know, give people that sense of quality. You want grown-ups to use your system, and this very much does feel like a grown-up system. And of course, the whole thing is now bigger than the Switch 1, about 33% bigger. And I think it's perfect. I think it's just the right size. It kind of contributes to the feeling that this is an upgrade. You get more visual real estate with the screen. It feels more substantial in your hands, but it's the same thickness, so it still feels nice and light. And the extra size doesn't really decrease portability by any real amount. You already couldn't fit a Switch 1 in your pocket, so this just doesn't really change anything functionally. And I don't know if Nintendo was always gonna go in this direction with Switch 2, if they were always gonna make it bigger, but I think other handheld PCs hitting the market over the last few years, they've kind of proven that you can go a little bit bigger, you know, Steam Deck especially. It's fine to go a little bit bigger. And you know, it's funny because the Switch OLED had a bigger screen than the original Switch, and now this is bigger than that, but like, there's still kind of a decent bezel. There's still a pretty okay amount of space around the screen. And I mean, that's probably just them leaving the door open for an even bigger screen when we get the inevitable Pro or OLED model or whatever. I don't know, that'll be bonkers. That'll be huge. So let's talk about the Joy-Cons themselves as controllers. They feel great. They feel really solid. There's a nice little heft in the hand. I love the colors on the connector and around the sticks. It's just a very slick touch. It's still colorful in a Nintendo kind of way, but it's not kiddie, you know? It's just a little splash of color, and it helps differentiate these Joy-Cons from Switch 1 Joy-Cons. Oh, and the sticks, they feel amazing. Switch 1 sticks were fine, but you could kind of feel them shifting between the different directions, and there was a little like metallic noise when you did it. But now it's 100% smooth, completely silent, just an absolute joy. And as for how it now feels to hold them, because they are bigger, it's funny, I think the increase in comfort is, it's pretty much like directly related to the increase in size, you know, like they're 33% bigger, and I'd say, yeah, I'm like holding it in my hand, like, yeah, I'd say it's about 33% more comfortable to hold. And it's really cool. Now you don't need the strap to use one Joy-Con as a single controller. Like you had to before, because the buttons were just like way too hard to press. Now it is no problem at all. The buttons are nice and big. I mean, obviously it's still not like ideal, but the buttons are pressable, controllers are a little bit bigger. So now I am 1,000 times more likely to actually use the Joy-Cons this way. I mean, I never even carried the straps around before, so Now the straps are pretty much just for mouse mode. I mean, okay, well, no, they're also straps, for like attaching to your wrist, but I never do that. I know I probably should, but I don't. Yeah, they really just make mouse mode a little bit easier. Not even like that much easier. You still can do it with one Joy-Con, but I feel like if you're gonna be doing it long term, then yeah, you're probably gonna want the strap. I have not used mouse mode a ton. Definitely gonna need more games that use it. Maybe when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, I'll try that. But my early thoughts, it works pretty well. It does. It's cool. It's fun. It is really interesting using a mouse on like the home menu of a Nintendo system. That's just it's just a very new thing. Although I will say, Nintendo was saying that you could use the Joy-Con in mouse mode kind of wherever, on your leg or the couch or something. You don't necessarily need a hard, flat surface. I don't think that's really true. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed. I kind of feel like you do need a hard, flat surface. I mean, if you're just like quickly selecting a menu item or something, sure, maybe, but like otherwise, I kind of do need a table or something, or else it doesn't really work. It's just not accurate enough. I really do love, though, how you don't have to go into like the settings or enable it or anything. You literally just put the Joy-Con, like you detach it, just put it down. And boom, there you go. Mouse mode. It is now automatically working. That's a very Nintendo kind of convenience, They like to take little things like this and make them just work really intuitively. And as for the ergonomics, again, I haven't really had a chance to use mouse mode for just like hours and hours, so I really don't know how it's gonna go. I have heard some people say that your hands can get a little bit crampy. But I guess we'll see. So far, at least short sessions have been perfectly fine. It's perfectly fun to use the Joy-Con as a mouse. I really like that you have the buttons on there and you have the stick for like scrolling and stuff. That's really convenient. And while we're talking Joy-Cons, the increased size has also allowed for much better rumble. It really is nice. Switch 1 Joy-Cons, the rumble was just like, it was fine, it was cool, but it was like way too buzzy. If it was vibrating too hard, it was really, really loud. I usually just turned it off. So the fact that at least so far, I don't want to turn it off anymore, I mean, that says something, right? The effect feels so much fuller this time, so much more capable of subtlety. And it was already pretty darn impressive before, but it is that much more impressive this time. It's a really great example of a feature on the Switch 2 that has simply been improved with no caveats. It is just an upgrade. I have no notes, and at least according to some of the tech demos I've messed around with in Welcome Tour, its ability to produce sounds has also been improved, which is just, it's just crazy. It's really, really mind-blowing to me that these are capable of producing sound by vibrating. I mean, I get sounds are vibrations, but they're doing it just with like a little magnet. It's so cool. So moving on, one thing I hated about the original Switch, and I never heard anyone mention this, and I don't even know if I've brought it up, but like, it has to have been a thing because it was a thing with all 3 of the different Switch models that I owned. There was the original, and then the one with the better battery, and then the OLED. They all had this thing where you're playing on the TV and you hit the button to turn it on, and it'll just like take a couple tries. Like you hit the button and the controller, the lights are going back and forth, but it just like doesn't turn on and you're just waiting. And then you like hit it again, maybe even like once or twice before it actually turns on. Bugged the heck out of me. So far, I have not had this problem on the Nintendo Switch 2. So, what a relief. What a huge relief. And you know what? Now when you turn it on, it makes a little sound. Makes a cute little sound. Little boop, bop, beep. It's delightful. It's like it's telling you hello. So the home screen and all the menus and options and whatnot, they are nearly identical this time, but I personally really do not mind because I think it works great. I love the simplicity. And I like how it looks better on my TV now. Just a higher resolution. Looks nice. Oh, and it's just so snappy. There is no lag. It does not feel clumsy and sluggish like it used to. It's awesome. Oh man, the Eshop is incredible. I hesitate to say too much. I may genuinely have to do an entire video about this if I haven't already by the time this video goes out. It's so good. It's everything I could have wanted. I mean, it loads up in seconds. Everything is super smooth. Games, like the little pictures load instantly as you scroll. Trailers, they load up perfectly with like no buffering so far. And you know what? This is actually one place where mouse controls are really superior to anything else. I think I may find myself popping off a Joy-Con and using the mouse anytime I go on the eShop. The whole thing, you know, probably still needs work when it comes to like discoverability and shovelware and all that, but like functionally, it's a dream. It's heaven. It's amazing. This feels like one element of my life that has just been improved. And other system features are the same. Managing captured media is so much easier now, so much quicker. And of course, you can send stuff to the Switch app. That's awesome. I haven't confirmed yet if this was updated on Switch 1 as well, but I do like how playtime tracking has been improved, at least somewhat. It still goes in increments of 5 most of the time, and it still waits like 10 days before displaying for some baffling reason I still don't get. But at least now it gives single-digit numbers ever. Like, I think it's when it's below a certain point, maybe like 10 or 20 hours or something. But then I hear that Switch 2 editions track separately from the original versions. That is a bummer, but I don't know. Oh well. Now, if you want to talk about using your Nintendo Switch 2 system to play video games which produce sounds and images, then yes, the system does do that. The speakers on this thing, you know, they're pretty good. You still get like a little bit of that like very, very slightly hollow feel you get pretty much any time with really small speakers. But all things considered, I would say the sound is still decently rich. Speaker tech has improved a lot over the years, and I would say that's reflected here. This thing can put out a pretty good amount of sound. And now let's finally talk about the image. TV-wise, I know Nintendo really emphasized HDR, but from what I've heard and observed, this kind of feels like a half HDR or something. I don't know. I guess I can't say too much here. I do not understand this stuff most of the time, and I haven't really like messed around with it and done a bunch of side-by-sides. Also, like with each game and on each different TV, it kept prompting me to adjust the settings, and it just did not seem to be working right. You know, it tells you to make the thing invisible, and it never even comes close to being invisible, and then I'm just kind of screwing up the settings. And then I was having really serious issues with the HDR when trying to capture footage on my computer, so I ended up just turning it off. It's just kind of a pain. But I think it still looks pretty good without it, you know? I mean, it comes down to the TV more than anything. And obviously, every game is going to be different. They're all going to have different visuals, and I will have opinions about the visuals of each respective game in, like, you know, actual reviews. But I'll at least say that if you want to talk improved image quality, so far I am quite pleased with the higher resolutions that the Switch 2 affords. And obviously, you know, there's like fancy image upscaling and anti-aliasing and all that stuff, and of course that differs from game to game. But yeah, so far, I'm happy. After playing a bunch of Mario Kart World and of course seeing a lot of footage of DK Bonanza, I'm pretty happy with what the system is capable of graphically. And we're only gonna see better and better looking games throughout the generation. So yeah, no, I'm more than happy with this thing's power. The Switch already got the job done. The games already looked pretty darn great, but now we have graphics that are, you know, a good chunk better, and then the games are running better. So that's like a double improvement adding up to one big improvement. It's exactly what it needed to be. And considering these games basically look like 8th gen games when it comes to like graphical detail, well, 8th gen games usually didn't even hit 1080p unless you bought like a mid-gen upgrade. So I don't know, anything above 1080p in my eyes is gravy. Then if you want to talk playing handheld, I will admit my experience with the screen has been something of a mixed bag. The Switch OLED really was a dramatic improvement over the base model Switch. The colors were just so much more vibrant, the blacks a lot deeper. Nintendo has unfortunately downgraded again to an LCD screen, and they insisted that this wasn't really a problem because the tech has gotten so much better over the years, and HDR kinda offsets the difference in contrast. Once again, I'm really not the guy to ask about this stuff. But so far, I'd say they were half right. HDR-wise, I will admit, on the system screen itself, I I cannot tell the difference, like, at all. I've tried toggling it on and off, and I really can't see much of a change, at least the couple times I've tried it out. However, I do feel that the screen itself already looks pretty good without it. The blacks are pretty black, the brighter colors pop pretty alright. Other times, it can look maybe a little washed out. I don't know, it feels like a bit of a half step to me. Better than the base model Switch, not as good as the OLED. Having a 120 Hz display is pretty nice though. I don't really have a lot of experience playing games at 120 frames per second, but I guess that means that this is a nice opportunity, at least for the probably kind of rare times when it's an option. And you know, I'm pretty happy with the resolution. The original Switch was 720p, which was just enough. You know, it was good. Not super duper sharp, but still pretty good on a small screen. Now the screen is a lot bigger, but it's been upgraded to 1080p to make up for it. And I don't know, I'd say it pretty much accomplishes the same thing. You know, it still hits pretty much the exact same sweet spot, the same balance of size and resolution. You know, could technically be sharper, but I'm not too fussed about it. Still looks really good. And even better when a game employs anti-aliasing. Unfortunately, there does seem to be a problem with the display, and this is not something I could have anticipated. There's a bit of a weird kind of like ghosting, blurring effect sometimes. It's hard to see if you're not looking at the thing with your own two eyes, but yeah, there's just like this little thing. I don't know if it's a frame interpolation thing. People seem to be saying it's related to the LCD display. Again, I know next to nothing about this stuff, but yeah, it's a thing. And I don't think it's software side. It seems to be universal, kind of across the whole entire experience. I don't know if this kind of thing could be patched or if it really is just the way the screen was built. I don't know, and I don't currently have access to a base model Switch to compare it with. I don't think this was a problem on the original, but maybe it was. Maybe I just really got used to the OLED, and I'm having a hard time finding straight answers online. I don't know. Maybe it was a thing, and I have just been spoiled. But it's a bummer. It really is. I mean, out of the entire Switch 2 system and all of its hardware and features, this really is kind of one sore spot. It's not a huge deal. It's really not that noticeable, and it's more of a problem when I come like directly from the TV. You know, like it's displaying perfectly on the TV, and then I go straight to handheld mode, and then it's a lot more obvious. After that point, I do get used to it pretty quickly, but it is a problem. It is definitely something to consider if you play handheld a lot and this kind of thing is really important to you. It's a thing. For an expensive piece of tech, I'm not gonna lie, that is a weird issue. Finally, let's talk battery life. I already did a whole video on this over on Topic Arlo, and I still haven't done like a ton of tests, like rigorous testing. My main test was just playing Mario Kart until the thing died. I figure that's probably gonna be about the most graphically, like resource hogging thing you can possibly do on the system. And I got about 2.5 hours. Maybe a couple minutes under that, basically 2.5 hours. And I feel like that's fine. You know, personally, I'm not gonna be playing handheld out of the house away from like chargers and plugs a huge amount. And this probably is the absolute shortest duration I can expect. You know, other games will naturally run a lot longer. It feels to me like the expected minimum, you know, the bare minimum that we should have expected from a handheld device. Not great, but not bad. So again, if you do plan on playing tons and tons of Switch 2 on the go, you may want to wait for some kind of upgrade, but for me, this gets the job done. Oh, and I guess I should briefly talk about the dock. It's not technically a part of the system itself, but, you know, it is part of the system experience. You get one when you purchase a Switch 2. The Switch 2 dock has been improved somewhat, I suppose. I mean, there's a fan in it now. That's cool. That will actually aid in cooling. And now the dock actually feels like, you know, like a piece of tech and not just a big chunk of plastic with a USB thing in it. The price feels at least slightly more justified now. And you know, it's a little bigger. It's a little bit heavier. So it's, you know, a little bit more stable on the TV stand. That's nice too. But man, I guess I don't really know what I've been expecting this whole time. I just, in my mind, there's gotta be a better way to like have a little slot where you put a thing in. There's got to be a better way to like guide the system in, make it feel a little bit more smooth. But maybe there just isn't. Maybe this really is the only way to put a thin little system into like a toaster thing. Cause it's still like, you just kind of sticking it in there. It's just you just kind of like lower it down and just kind of awkwardly chunk it into place. Yeah, there's really no difference. There's still like a lot of wiggle room, like a really uncomfortable amount of wiggle room. The system just wiggles a whole bunch when you move the thing, and I'm always afraid I'm gonna scratch the screen. But I guess if there was less room, then it would be more likely to scratch the screen. So yeah, again, I guess I don't know what I was expecting, but nah, it's still a Switch dock. If it doesn't get better by the third iteration, then it's probably just not gonna get better. So there you have it. Yeah, if you can say anything outright bad about the Switch 2, it is that display issue. It is, it's a thing. It's probably not gonna affect most people. It is pretty subtle. I really don't have to play it long before I can barely even realize it, but it is weird. It is certainly weird. Beyond that though, I feel like the Switch 2 is, I think it's perfect. I think it's, it improves upon the original Switch in basically every meaningful way that it should have. Some of the changes are a little bit subtle. Some are more major, but I kind of feel like across the board, it's like everything it needed to be, you know? I'm happy with the system. It feels a bit more modern, a bit more future-proofed, you know? Like I feel a little bit more confident knowing I'm going to be playing this for a few years. So then already feeling like it's so good and it really just like nails it so well. But then knowing that there are probably going to be iterations in the future that improve upon it even more, that's exciting. That really is exciting. I'm sorry, I should not go there yet. Should not go there yet. Well, thank you for watching. And if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna play some Switch 2. And by that I mean, I'm gonna mess around with the Joy-Cons. I probably do that more than playing the games.